event with us, and then to, of course, go into the substance of climate change. I think we have to recognize that it is a fact. We see climate change happening. We all start seeing it and we start living it. And of course it is essential that we do our very utmost best to reduce emissions and to fight climate change and to limit the increase of global warming in the years to come. But we do also at the same time need to build our resilience so that we cope as best we can with the impacts of climate change. In many parts of the world, due to gender inequalities, the different roles in societies and also the division of labor, women and men are simply not exposed in an equal manner to climate change impacts. They also do not have the same adaptive capacities to these impacts. Women's unequal participation also in decision-making processes and labor markets compound these inequalities, and they often prevent women from fully contributing to climate-related planning, to policy making and implementation. So what we really want is to find ways to change this. Women, as we all know, can be very, very strong and capable agents of change, and that goes for both fighting climate change, so again reducing emissions, or also known as mitigation, but also for adaptation. They play a very important role when it comes to implementing mitigation and adaptation measures in daily lives, and we can think there of energy or water saving practices. And clearly ensuring that women's voice is heard is essential if we want to develop and implement successful climate policies, again, both mitigation and adaptation. And it is really also very essential if we want to foster a greater change in behavior, and that will be necessary if we want to achieve our goals. Now, the EU has already for a long time been committed to promoting a gender perspective in climate policies, both domestically within Europe and internationally, and to supporting women's engagement and gender equality in the international climate negotiations, which is what many of us do for a big part of the year, even in the context of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Now, the EU's stance there has been and continues to be that full and equal participation of women in the climate negotiations, and also, as I just said, in the design of climate action, is really essential. In fact, the Commission, as part of the EU, of course, has been participating in shaping the development of a gender action plan under the Climate Convention, and is also, modestly, I can maybe mention, one of the few parties that is providing dedicated funding to the Secretariat's work on gender activities. Now, we hope to hear more from Ms. Newman from the UNFCCC Secretariat to provide more insight on the work that is happening under this gender action plan. Empowerment of women and upscaling climate action are clearly also central in our development cooperation efforts. We do implement targeted measures to tackle gender inequalities and climate change issues in our partner countries, while at the same time also mainstreaming gender equality and climate change perspectives into the different aspects of EU development policy. Gender equality and empowerment of women and girls is recognized as a cross-cutting driver, really, of sustainable development. And I think these days, these European Development Days, are clearly all about that. And it is, as I said, a cross-cutting driver also included in the new European Consensus on Development and the EU Gender Action Plan that runs from 2016 to 2020. We're very happy that we can already see results of this approach. We have the Global Climate Change Alliance Plus flagship initiative, the banner over there, which is implemented by DG Development Cooperation, and this supports climate action in different areas and, very importantly, empowers women and addresses gender issues in the context of climate change adaptation and climate-induced migration. And I'm sure my colleague Felice Zakeo, who's sitting over there, will in a moment bring a little bit more detail on that. Now, from my side, I of course look forward to hearing from all our excellent panelists, and I just hope that we can go away from this session with a few concrete stories of how women's voices can be effectively integrated in policies for climate change mitigation as well as adaptation, and hopefully that way inform the work under the Gender Action Plan under the UNFCCC. So with that, I would wish you all an interesting and fruitful discussion. Thank you.